Grand. Hello, everybody. 1 second. Oh, stupid thing running in the background. This is what live production does. Everybody, Dr. Josh is here. Come on, yay! Celebrate. We have a celebrity in the room tonight.
Everybody's running. I don't know what's going on.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I really do appreciate it. I know Sunday does be a busy night for streams on YouTube, especially in our wee community. But do appreciate everyone coming up. I know you are all here to just talk to Dr. Josh. So yeah, I'll just be quiet. Let the man introduce himself and go on ahead, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a little confused because I've got the live comments thing up here and I didn't see any, and apparently it's not working. So I was like, oh, was no one here? But I just checked my phone. All right, anyway.
Yes, it's the way I do it. The StreamYards isn't actually streaming. OBS is doing the streaming.
Got it. Well, yeah. There you go. That will explain it. Well, hi, everybody. I am Dr. Josh, and I'm really excited to be here. My wife, Megan, and I, for those that don't know, run Digital Hammurabi, and we do ancient Near East and Hebrew Bible stuff. Try to make the ancient world kind of come alive. So we do everything from explaining difficult biblical passages in the Hebrew Bible to teaching Sumerian to grief. We've got a Middle Egyptian class that's being taught.
So much going on. You have the other channel as well now. Let me see if I can say this right. Anna Mesopotamia.
Anna Mesopotamia. Yep. It's a kids channel, and Megan actually just uploaded another video. So we're gearing that toward middle schoolers, that sort of age group. But answering basic questions now, like what is Mesopotamia and how did writing come about in the ancient world and those sorts of things. So, and Megan's got a podcast called Digital Hammurabi. Go figure. And I just started one. And you know what? I haven't told anybody about it, but MathPig, on your show, this is where it's getting announced.
Oh, brilliant. Exclusive.
It is called He-Bane, which is, not the great nemesis of He-Man, although that does sound, it's Hebrew Bible and ancient Near East all mushed together. So
right.
I recorded the first episode today, and we'll premiere it on YouTube, I think sometime this week. I have to ask my boss, my wife.
Yeah.
But the audio, it'll premiere on our channel just so everybody can, find the link and see it. But then it'll just go right to the podcast after that. So pretty exciting.
Yeah, but it seems to be the way it's going. Podcasts, people can listen in the car. As good as YouTube is, it generally does come with a video. People want to watch the video too. So,
do you want to hear the intro? Because I actually have the means to do that.
Oh, go for it. Definitely, man.
You are listening to the He-Bane podcast, where scholarly research into the Hebrew Bible and ancient Near East is brought directly to you.
I love the heavy rock. I'm a wee bit of a rocker myself, so I'm definitely agreeing with the music in the background. On that topic, man, the whole idea of your channel is bringing the information that you have. I know we joke and we were messing around, and you do go by Dr. Josh, but you are actually a doctor. You're one of the few people in the community who spent the time and went and did all the hard, boring, annoying work. I know that you do it, is it semesters? You can actually say how many hours that you've spent in study, isn't it, the way it is over there?
Yeah. I sort of. I mean, I know that, the normal bachelor's degree is 120 semester hours. My master's degree was 126 semester hours, and then the PhD was more. I don't know.
And that's just the time that you spend in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously you could triple that for all the work that has to go on behind the scenes.
Yeah, so it took me, when I started my master's degree, it was 2003, and I graduated with my PhD in 17, and it was straight through. So 14
years.
Grad school.
That's more time than some people spend in primary school. Over here, you can leave at 16. You've been in school from 4, and if you wanted to, you can leave when you're 16. So
Oh wow.
Yeah, you've done more schooling than most people are made mandatory in this country. So we can definitely say that, your celebrity status is probably worthwhile. You would be someone that people could quote. You do get quoted.
Oh gosh, that's so funny and a bit surreal.
I think you did say one time that someone actually quoted you back to you and didn't realize it was you.
that was funny. That was funny. Because there are certain times that you can know that someone's taking a quote out of context, and that's one of them, when you get quoted back to yourself.
I know, because you're clearly making a point and you still agree with yourself. So
yes, clearly. Oh gosh, that was so funny. It doesn't happen often, but
there is some nutters on YouTube now, or on Twitter especially, and Critical Cripple Dave, as we all know him, pointed out something last night, which is very, very good. And you waste an awful lot of time fighting with people that is just not worth your time, man. And he did say you should spend more time teaching the people who want to learn and let us deal with the trolls. It's fun for us. It's a waste of time for you. They're at our level. They are definitely below your level.
I appreciate I'm actually very flattered at the sentiment there. It's very interesting. Actually, Megan is going up to Brown University this weekend, I think, to I'm going to mess this up, so I'm sorry, Megan. But she's giving a lecture on public engagement in the humanities, or in trying to do what it is that we do on Digital Hammurabi.
Yeah.
And part of the problem that I struggle with, and I think I've talked about this maybe on Skylar's show, I'm not sure, is just this. I was talking to a guy that we're going to have come on the show in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, and he's going to talk about the period of the Canaanites, in the Hebrew Bible. So, 15th, 14th, 13th, around that century, which is going to be really interesting. But I was talking to him and just kind of making a connection with him, and he teaches out in Missouri, but he went to Harvard. Did he go to Harvard? Harvard and NYU, I think. Hope I don't mess that up, but I didn't mess that up. But anyway, brilliant guy, and super nice, really down to earth. And I was talking to him, and talking about some of this stuff that, as you're talking about, this engaging with people that maybe are just engaging to engage. And he said, one of the things that I think we kind of came to, the conclusions that we kind of came to, is that as a professor, as a full-time professor, because you have an audience there that is your primary job, and your job is to, train these people in that classroom. And if you run into sort of flat earth type people, out and about, you can really ignore them, very strategically ignore them, because they're in no way your primary audience, because engaging with them is in no way going to benefit your primary audience. And I think that's what I wrestle with out here, because as much as I would in many cases, and I do, let people that are perfectly qualified to deal with these somewhat silly people.
You're being polite, but yes.
There are times that I think I hate it, but it's a good idea strategically to engage, not for their sake, but maybe for the people that are watching, the people that are listening. Because while there are some dumb ass arguments out there, and there really are, oftentimes I think about somebody like, I hope it's okay to say this, I think about somebody like Darth Dawkins.
Yeah, go on ahead. Let's make fun of that.
Yeah, I'm not a philosopher. In no way am I a philosopher, right? So when I think about things like epistemology and foundationalism and epistemology and coherentism and whatever, I have a very rough understanding of those things. And so when I hear his, sort of pitch that he makes, I wrestle with it, because I know what I would say back, but of course it wouldn't be in any way a defeater for what he says. because I'm in no way trained in that. And so while I know it's a dumb argument, I don't. This sounds bad. I know it's dumb, but I don't know exactly why. That's
I
not
totally
exactly
get
what
you.
I mean.
Yeah, you've heard it enough to get the rough idea that it's not got any validity to it because you can poke holes in it, but you haven't got the vocabulary or the right wordage to go at him with it because he'll just mute you and call you crazy and all the rest of it.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, like, foundationalism from, like, again, this is just not my field, sorry. So I may say things that are incorrect. Entirely possible.
Nobody
but,
else here has a field but you, so it's okay.
But like from an epistemological standpoint, foundationalism is something, like that's something that a lot of people I get, hold to, and it seems reasonable to me. But I think the way that he applies it is, not something that a good philosopher would do. But yet it would. So anyway, we're supposed to be having Stephen Law on the Scholar Fiction Show, Dr. Stephen Law who's a philosopher, and I'd like to hear. I'm actually hoping that we can ask him some questions, show him some clips, and get kind of his take on specifically how what he thinks about and how he would respond to those types of arguments. But I guess that's kind of where I am with a lot of this, like people making arguments that. I don't know. There is no slavery in the Hebrew Bible, just because I've been working on that recently.
Yeah, you have a book out about that. You've not been working on it recently. You have a book out about it. Again, you're being modest, but yeah, it's the link for it's in the description. The man has a book on it.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. The nice thing about that book is it'll probably be like all of my other books, is that I'm planning on. I'm working on a Daniel book now, the Dating of Daniel. But it's designed specifically to bring all these scholars who are in the field writing on this stuff, and to centralize that data, focus it into book format, and put it in there in a palatable way. So, really, I'm a conduit, if nothing else, to what I consider to be very good scholarship. So it's like that slavery book. There's nothing new and innovative. Nothing. It's me taking the secondary literature, taking the primary literature, and distilling it in a way and presenting it in a way I think that allows people to. That they might quote me because my name's on the book and I'm writing, but really they're quoting. The foundations for what I'm saying is other scholars and their work in the field. So,
to make an analogy, when you were at school, did you have a favorite teacher?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. What book did he teach you in your first year? You see, you remember the teacher quicker. It's the teacher.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the teacher
that's
that
true.
Makes, the information may be out there, but having the intelligence and the skill and the desire as well to bring that and distill it down and make it available to us silly laymen's and make it entertaining at the same time. That's the difficulty. That's the problem.
Well, I appreciate that. One thing that I have noticed is that there are a lot of incredibly intelligent people and incredibly intelligent non-specialists in our audience. And it's so refreshing because it is a very humbling experience, frankly, because once I leave my area of specialty, my specialization, and start to kind of drift, one of the reasons that I'm so quick to say this isn't my field is because there are people in the audience that are fucking brilliant in these areas, and,
covering your ass.
And I just I think I really enjoy what we do here, even for all the somewhat difficult people that you have to engage with.
On top of all that, though, you do have a full-time job, and Megan is pregnant again. So,
She is indeed. She is.
Congratulations.
Indeed.
That's fantastic news. But you have all of this on top of that. Sometimes people forget when you see people on the internet, oh, it's wonderful they've done this. I've seen them for 4 hours today. The other 20 hours, they had a family and a job, and they were out working.
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
have that on top of that. You know, do you have an end goal? Obviously, you'd like to have 1 million subscribers and be able to do this full time.
Yeah. Well, actually, we are, so Digital Hammurabi is sort of set up where I participate in it, but it's really Megan's, which is really nice. And so she's actually applied for nonprofit status, which if we get that, and I don't think there'd be any problem getting it, it will allow us to, for those that don't know, we have the HAPS scholarship that we run, and HAPS stands for Humans Against Poor Scholarship. And what we do is we raise money. It's all crowdfunded, and we raise money on our channel through a Patreon to give scholarships to PhD students who are in the midst of coursework or who are writing their dissertations, to give them, right now the scholarships are $2,000 per person. We gave 3 away last year. I think we're on track right now to give 4, maybe 5, I can't remember. But you know, we're trying to make it, because in the humanities in particular, PhD programs are not lucrative. You're not really making any money while you're getting your PhD, and so students still have to go to things like conferences, and they have to do summer research. And so we raise this money so that we can provide it to them, but they have to compete for it. So they come onto the channel and we interview them one by one, and they present their research, their current research project that they would like funding for. And the audience, whoever donates, gets a vote. And so it's really neat. But we found out last year when we ran it that we had to pay tax on the money.
But you replaced that yourself, though.
Huh?
You did replace that money that was lost from out of your own pocket.
Yeah, and we had some actually very generous people provide when they found out that we were doing that. Some people sent some extra money in and said this is specifically to cover this portion. But yeah, I mean, that's, when we started the fund, we said that Patreon was going to take whatever percentage of each donation. It was small, but it was still something. And we said, well, because we want 100% of your donation to go directly to the student, we're going to chip in that whatever Patreon takes. Yeah, we'll chip in. And then we found out that we were going to get taxed as well. So hopefully, if we can get this nonprofit status, that will allow, of course, that won't be an issue any longer, but it will allow us to approach larger organizations, other universities, businesses, and be able to say, look, we'd like you to contribute, and hopefully there'll be something they'd be willing to do. So yeah, we're excited.
I was very lucky to be part of that, and still am. I put a wee bit in, and I will never get rid of that. That is definitely something, even for the little amount, if everybody puts in $1, it spreads, it goes around. We got 3 people away last year. As he says, we're going to get 4 away this year. It really is a fantastic thing you're doing, You can't, links are in the description. The Patreon's down there for Digital Hammurabi and for the HAPS. The HAPS is definitely worth contributing from.
The one thing that we're hoping, in years to come, that we'll be able to do is, it's very difficult in a lot of the ancient Near Eastern fields. It's difficult to find work, frankly. And so what students end up doing is they take a postdoctoral program position somewhere. So like Brown University will offer a 1-year or maybe a 2-year, I can't remember what it is, position for an Assyriologist to come and teach Sumerian for a year. And they don't get paid a lot, but it's something, and then it's experience that can go on their CV, and then they can apply to another job. But a lot of times what happens is, these graduates, they bounce around over around the country or internationally, trying to get short-term experience. My best friend from Hopkins is out in Cambridge right now, and doing a postdoc. And you're not guaranteed in any way a slot. In fact, when I came in, my advisor and the dean sat me down, and the head of the department sat me down and said, you're probably not going to be able to find a job after this in the field. Like, you have to really want to do this knowing that you're probably not going to get a job. So what we'd like to do is raise enough money eventually to not only offer these summer scholarships, but to offer a year-long postdoc to a student, you know, and pay them however much we can. If we could pay them $25,000 for the year to come and to do work at Digital Hammurabi, do work in HAPS, you know, but have a bona fide postdoc that they could actually get some experience, and it would be something. It's just one more postdoc available. That would be amazing. So we'll see how it shakes out.
Well, you definitely have goals, and from what you are doing, you haven't failed yet. You know, you are doing really well. You haven't failed yet. You're doing really well. You're doing great work for the community and the wider community as a whole. You are up to what, 13, 14,000 subscribers or something now?
Yeah, I think 13, just over 13.
Yeah, you know, and there's not 13,000 people in our community. So you're definitely out there reaching out, and yeah, we should all be humbled. I know you're very modest. I know you're modest, but the work that you and Megan do is fantastic. And Megan's probably behind the scenes there, making sure and checking everything's right. And I remember whenever we used to do the live streams back at the start, when, you know, talking under 1,000 subs, you've got Megan in the front room, and she's with the baby on the mobile phone watching the live chat and sending the questions to Josh, sometimes running in with a piece of paper going, yeah, you need to answer these, running away again.
And we did the green screen for a little while, and I do miss the green screen sometimes, but I don't know if anybody has noticed or if I've mentioned this, but this painting was done by Christina Blackfeather, and she donated it to us for free. I mean, like, sorry, donated for free. I think those are redundant, but she donated to us, and initially she painted it, and she painted it live on her channel over several videos, and she said, I want to donate it so you can like auction it or sell it or whatever to donate toward HAPS. And so we said, well, we're going to bid on it. Like, we're going to be the high bidder. I can tell you that much. And she said, well, you keep it then. And she had it professionally scanned, and she made 2 prints. She kept 1 print herself, and then she gave the other print to us to either auction off or to sell or to do something with that print, so that we could raise money. But now I said, well, we're putting that in our background, and it's going to be there on every stream. So it's beautiful. It's a fantastic job.
One question I do have, and it's totally off topic and all, but on this, do you still have the small chair? Because that was hilarious, the way you used to be, and if you swapped seats, Megan was so much taller than you, and you had to have the smaller seat to go with the table, so you both looked at the exact same height.
We do. It's actually right there.
And the 4 foot tall bed.
That was the thing that made it so funny.
Yeah.
There's a video that I did on with Aaron Ra on Aaron's channel, and I think probably 60,000 people have viewed it or something. But one of the comments that like came up over and over and over again is he really that short? Is he really that short? Because the bed was like this tall. I mean, it was crazy how tall that bed was. And I'm 6'2", so everybody knows, like, I'm not short, but it looked like I was sitting on the floor.
That bed was massive.
It was so funny. Oh man, the things we have done with this channel, I'm telling you.
And Megan used to shout penis an awful lot more. She's a lot more controlled on stream now. But every now and again, you'd just be sitting, and the kids would be in bed. We're maybe 3 beers in, and you're sitting talking about Gilgamesh, and all of a sudden, Megan just looks at the camera and goes, penis. And then just moves on, goes back to what they're doing.
Oh man, yeah, it's hard to do now. I do miss doing those live streams, but it's really interesting because I mean, I'm sure that we're still do them. We're trying to go a slightly different direction with the way that we do live streams now, do interviews. But that'll come out. I think we're going to start trying to focus more on audio presentation and structuring it a little bit more, which is going to be good. I think it's going to be very beneficial. But one of the things that I do now is go on Skylar's channel, and that's like my beer at the end of the day. To go on there, I don't have to run anything. I'm not in charge of the conversation. I can just kind of sit back.
You not doing the
Relax.
production with the buttons, or have you been teaching Skylar? Is he getting there?
Well, see, when we were using OBS, I did all the production, which was fine. Like doing the production wasn't a big deal. But then he found out about StreamYard and started playing around with it, and that was it. And he wanted StreamYard. And I don't blame him.
It's
a really nice. It's a really nice program. So, yeah, he's doing it all now.
How did you and Skylar end up coming together? Now, I think everybody who's in the audience pretty much knows that you came from the non sequitur from your interview with that, and then you were basically told to start a channel, and we all followed you. But how did you come across with Skylar?
How did that happen? It actually happened in sort of a similar way to the non-sec. I remember I watched some of his videos, maybe. I don't really even know how I came across his channel, come to think of it. But I watched some of his videos. I watched him interact with some people. And actually, hold on. There was one stream in particular where he had the Hebrew up on the screen. That was the thing that got me going. He had the Hebrew up on the screen, and he was talking to somebody and saying, well, let's just look at it was wolf bitten. That's who it was. I don't know if anybody knows who that is,
Nope.
but
but at least the moment clicked.
It's one of my absolute favorite videos that he's done. If you haven't watched it, you probably should. There's two of them that he did with a guy by the name of Wolf Bitten, and that guy was special. To listen to him talk, he's an astrophysicist / molecular biologist. He's not.
Yeah.
Spoilers. But I remember Skylar had the Hebrew up, and they were talking about the word "ana" in the PL, and it's used in contexts of, it can be used for rape, it can be used for like a deflowering, it can be used for just to it's like the devaluing because of sexual intercourse. And one of the words in the English, the Old English, or the 1611, whatever, that was used was humble, and because he has humbled her. And so Skylar's got this word up, and it's like like a Strong's Concordance or one of these online things that's up on the screen, and it says rape, deflower, all these really strong words, and then there's humble. And that's the word that he keyed in on. Well, humble, humble just means it's a good thing,
Shoehorning, yeah.
It was so funny. But yeah, so I think I emailed him after that and just said, look, here's who I am, and if that could be of any use to you. And it took a little while, because as much as I love Skylar, he would be the first person to tell you that he's got a lot going on, and you have to email him sometimes several times and remind him that you're supposed to
keep moving yourself to the top of the list. Email again just so you're at the top of the list. You get lost in the backlog of.
Indeed.
Especially when you put your email out there. It's SkylarFiction@gmail. You possibly do have a different email that's more personal, and he would check more often. But he's still a busy person.
He really is, yeah. But hopefully he's getting some much needed time off, spending time with his family, and kind of recuperating, getting settled into his. A lot of respect
for Skylar. If it wasn't for Skylar and yourself, I probably, I definitely wouldn't have the channel. That's the truth, because everybody knows about Doorknob Head naming me and then being shouted out on screen. That was Dr. Josh and Skylar. It was their fault I got stuck with this name. It was Doorknob Head who named me, but they went, oh no, MathMagicPig has changed his name now. He's now MathPig. And it was like, oh fuck, right now I'm stuck with it. Okay, right. And then Padme did me the logo, which was very nice of them, and they did the t-shirt, helped me out, we did the logo. But I definitely, I do have people on, and I do say this an awful lot of the time, that if this hadn't happened, it wouldn't have been this. But these are the reasons that I bring these people on. They are important to where I've come from, and especially on the internet. Dr. Josh, I couldn't have backed that man more than a lot of respect for him at the start. They were doing fantastic work, and they were very generous, and acknowledged me in the chat, and said hi, and we had a lot of good fun there. Back in the day when the live chats were small, there's only maybe 14 of us. There was a wee family,
Yep.
and we had some really, really good times. Yeah, you couldn't help but fall in love with them. They were officially the cutest couple on the internet. It really was.
I remember when we were going back and forth, and not back and forth, but kind of bouncing around, what we should call the channel after, Steve said, well, I understand you're going to start one. Oh, well, there you go. Which is, I mean, Steve really helped get us going, which is awesome. But I remember it was Digital Hammurabi was one, or it was Qteiform. And I'm really glad that we went with Digital Hammurabi, because
what was the second one? I didn't even hear it being pronounced. It was what? It didn't even make sense. Or what was the second one you said it was going to be?
So it's a cross between cute and cuneiform. So Qteiform.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's not good.
No, Digital Hammurabi definitely rolls off the tongue, and especially with the field in the seriology and Hammurabi being who they are, like.
I'll tell you, that was a scary moment when we started. I know you know this story, but maybe the people out there that don't. We started the channel, and then maybe 2 weeks later, got everything official and got an email address and all this stuff. And somebody emailed us and said, I just found your site on the Hopkins website. Oh, what in the world? So I looked it up, and sure as shit, there was from like 2002. It hadn't been updated in like 15 years or something, but there was a website. It was a project that was associated with Johns Hopkins called Digital Hammurabi. And there was nobody was going to believe, nobody, that we didn't lift that. I mean, but I'd never heard of it. And in fact, where we got the name from was Megan won a Dean's Teaching Fellowship up at Hopkins. And she was going to teach on, she did digital humanities. So she was going to talk about cuneiform and seriological studies and bringing it into modern times. And we were talking about it. We said, why don't we call it Hammurabi in the Digital Age? And so that's what she named her course. And then when we were talking about the channel, I said, well, why don't we just let's do, instead of Hammurabi in the Digital Age, just call it Digital Hammurabi.
And it works as well, because analog's dying, man. Everything's going digital. Even Hammurabi went digital.
Indeed. And as I understand it, there's a theory that the universe is digital. So
there's lots of theories out there. The world's flat and all that. We've got conspiracy cats in the chat right at the minute. He's a big flat Earth debunker. I've reached out recently to Mark Sargent. We're just trying to sort down a date, so that could be fun as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It's good to get everybody in. We'll all have a bit of fun. But yeah.
I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind me asking you a question.
Oh, go for it,
talked
man.
about it a little bit.
Yeah,
before
ask me anything you want. Anything at all.
Before we started, so what was it like having that discussion with Darth Dawkins on your channel?
It was in all honesty, we arranged it, me and Critical Cripple, within an hour before it happened. The first one with Richard, we were just, It was a Saturday night. I know I'm big on Discord, so I'd be about all over Discord, and I knew that I could contact him through Discord. So I was like, man, are you doing anything? He said no. We went with that. I was like, right, I've got a theist that wants to debate you on anything biblical. He went okay, and then we went with it. And it went quite well, because Richard defended himself, I think, a wee bit better than Randolph did. Randolph's a wee bit too nice, even though Richard's as nice as he is. But that meant that I had to then step in, and because of that, the man will probably not come back on again if I moderate. Which is his own choice. That's totally, more than welcome to have that own choice. But that's just how it happened, man. It was fun. It was fun.
Fun. That's an interesting word. Interesting word. It can be used. It's so versatile. Fun. I was so proud of Richard because one of the things that was so funny to me was how dark. And I know it's one of his tactics, to call the other person dumb. But I mean, to call somebody like Richard dumb. It's like that man has thought through his positions more than most.
Yeah.
I think that hold them, and it's just to hear that it was comical, because Richard was being so nice, you know.
He did giggle at him 2 or 3 times. I've watched that timestamp. I can't remember what it is, but you go back and look, and there's one point where Darth's talking, and Richard just giggles at him.
Yep. It's like, man, I don't know. I listened to another. Actually, I think I was listening to his discussion with Skylar, and that was a long time ago. I can't fathom. I don't know why you guys put yourself through it, I guess is what I mean.
We were bored. It was a Saturday night, and I had
go.
a bottle of wine. And that's literally how it came about. We were
That'll
looking
do
for
it.
something to do. We were talking about possibly playing Quiplash again, but we were like, we've done Quiplash too much. Let's think of something else. What else is entertaining? Darth's entertaining. Right, let's go ahead.
And he'll come up with something new. You know, that was the hope, I'm sure, that he would have something new and innovative.
Yeah, I'm tiny. No idea who I am. No idea who Richard is. You know, on that topic, man, I know you have an awful lot of respect for Richard. What do you think of the thing that we do on a Thursday, the whole a history of, from like Richard's point of view? Probably don't watch it. It doesn't get big viewership. I understand that, but
that's actually one of the ones that I haven't seen yet. But tell me a little bit about it.
But it's
like the history of I've seen it in the.
Well, the first one we did,
like history of Enoch. And,
yeah. Well, we reached out. I reached out to Richard after seeing him on your channel and the Skylar's channel, and just going, to be honest, the man's a wee bit crazy. So let's have a conversation. I like, going that way. Richard knows it's me. He's like my stepbrother on the internet now. It's fine. And we reached out. We came back and forth, and the more you talk to the man, the more you love the man.
Definitely.
That's just the way it is. And we were just talking. I was like, do you want to do something together? Because you're one side and I'm the other side, and we'll just talk about something. And I was like, well, you can pick a topic because it generally doesn't matter to me. And he wanted to talk about the David and Goliath story, so we did a history of the interstellar planets. It's sort of like a wee thing. And then when that was finished, we were like, right, well, what are we going to do now? Because this has become a thing for like 6 months. I'm enjoying doing this on a Thursday, hanging with Richard. And I was like, I've never read the Book of Enoch. He had read it once when he was an anti-theist. And I was like, right, we'll do that. I think next we're trying to decide on a few. We've got maybe an Aboriginal story, or we're going to go the Epic of Gilgamesh, just that one, the one story. And yeah, a few different things. And it's Richard putting his point of view to it. The older and more not mainstream, the better. Because obviously with Richard's belief, he is convinced that they all fit every story. That's what all these old stories are about. So him reading it the first time, hopefully with me, then I question him on it. He says, this is how I see it, this is my interpretation, and then I scream alien overlords at him, and we have a giggle, and we do that for about an hour and a half, and it's fun, and it gets his word out as well.
No, it sounds... Thursday nights are tough for me, generally speaking, which is actually one of the reasons that I haven't been able to catch it. It's the night that my 6-year-old does ninja training.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not even training. Kung Fu or karate. Full-blown ninja training.
This, it sounds more professional than it is. It's actually just a kid's gym, and they jump around on mats and, pretend to be ninjas. But it's fun. It's fun for her. But...
yeah, don't get me started. If anyone knows me, I just never shut up about my wee girl. Like, although I am wearing a cast tonight because she was jumping all over me that much. She twisted my wrist, and people know that I have a bone in my hand, and it's been sore this last wee while. And she sort of did like a 360 thing, and just so that should be interesting in the next couple of days. We'll see how that goes.
Man, sorry.
Well, these are the things you do, man. You know yourself. Yeah. I'm sure one of your kids has kicked you right between the legs really hard when they're just at that right height, and you've lifted them up to give them a hug and a kiss, and their feet are at the exact boom. That's it. You've went down. You take it for your kid. You want to headbutt
I don't know,
but you just hand them over to Megan and go, I'm all right.
I don't know why I've done this, but Oliver, the 2-year-old, has really taken to kicking. There's a rubber ball that's outside, and he'll kick that. He's got this tiny little football, and I've started doing the whole sorry, football, like an American football.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no,
not
most
the
of my
real
audience
football.
is American anyway. It's grand. It's like 86% from the USA. It's fine. They all understand what you're talking about.
But I hold the football on the ground with my finger, and he runs up and kicks it. And after about the third time doing it, I realized like, this is probably not safe for me, because while I think his accuracy is pretty good, it wouldn't take much,
Yeah.
for him to hit my nose or something. But yeah, it's fun.
When it comes to, I'm of the sort of old school where you not throw them in the deep end, but we would play rough. She likes to fly about. She likes to be thrown around like a bag of spuds. You know, it's how we play. It's how we get on. Sunday mornings we put on heavy metal, and you know, this morning I was listening to Drowning Pool Bodies, and there's the 1, 2, 3, 4. And it was like, is it wrong to teach your kid to count by using drowning pools? Let's put that on Twitter and see. You know, I think Nathan Orman commented under now him being an agnostic himself, he was like, this is the consequences of atheism. But you know, that's how we play. Sometimes she gets the odd wee bruise in her leg because we'd be swinging up and down, but it's just what kids are. They're made of rubber. You throw them about and have a bit of fun, and it's the best thing for them. You don't want them to be afraid.
Yeah.
She has picked up some fears from my girlfriend. We went a year ago, and she was chasing lizards around the reptile farm, and we went a couple of months ago when she was petrified. And my woman's always been scared of them. You can see some things being, you know, obviously it's not intentional, but
Sure.
yeah, exactly. The first year we went, I'm not afraid of spiders, but I don't like tarantulas. They're quite big. And the daughter wanted one, and there's a picture of me with the daughter in one arm and a tarantula going up the other, because I had said to my woman, we can't imply your fears on the child, and then the child wanted a tarantula, so I was like, okay, thanks. Right.
But, gosh. Yeah, kids are interesting, in particular for me at this stage, because you know, having grown up and lived the majority of my life as an evangelical Christian, I mean, I actually had a friend of mine that we established as my oldest godfather, and not in a typical sense, but his role was essentially to, if anything happened to me and happened to my ex-wife, that he would step in and ensure that, you know, she was spiritually trained in the biblical text, and that she would, you know, he would look out for her spiritual.
Yeah, my wee girl is actually christened as well, and she's a Catholic. It's been christened as a Catholic, so yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's interesting now because, you know, those I don't know, those patterns, those thoughts are so deeply embedded in my psyche, I suppose, that, you know, even though I can read through the biblical text and read through, you know, archaeological reports or, you know, whatever, and realize that there's incongruity between, let's say, what the Bible says about Jericho, for example, and or about the Philistines, or about, you know, whatever. Right. Or you know, something like the book of Daniel, or looking at Ezekiel, or any of these things, but then when I think about the kids, I wrestle with that, honestly, internally, because it's knowing something and feeling something are very very different. And it's interesting because I'll have conversations. I was telling you off air, had a conversation that I had on Twitter yesterday with a pastor who, you know, was basically saying that I was never really a Christian, that I just thought I was, and those sorts of comments, and those that follow that say if you don't, you know, repent, you're going to hell, and those sorts of things. I mean, they're things that I used to say. They're things that I used to believe wholeheartedly. And, you know, I of course struggle with that sort of stuff still, but more from a feelings standpoint rather than an intellectual one. And then I think about the kids, and the kids, like, they don't struggle with that because they haven't been raised that way. And you know, there's always that thing in the back of your mind going, am I doing something wrong? Have I messed up here? Do I really know what I'm talking about? And yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. I don't know how I got onto that.
We were talking about the kids and stuff and parenting, yeah, but
That's what it was, yeah.
every parent goes through that, man. You wonder sometimes, you've shouted at your child and then they cry and you feel guilty, but then you shouted at them for a reason.
Yeah.
My wee girl went to throw something in the fire the other day because she's seen us throw things in the fire, and don't get me wrong, I've taught her, she's been with me when I've lit the fire. She knows what it is, she knows it's warm, and she was totally safe in what she did because she was from a distance and did it, but we didn't know she was going to stop. And I screamed at her, and then she just stopped where she was and just broke down in tears like 3 seconds later.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my, you feel awful. But it is, you do your best. You do what you can.
Yeah, indeed.
The fact that I would consider myself agnostic. We're not going to Steve McCrae that, but my woman is Catholic. Cultural more so than anything, but they do have their beliefs, and big things come around. But our wee girl will formally have all the bits and bobs, the christening and the confirmation and all that, because it's important to my woman, but we have the agreement that they'll be raised just as they're raised. That's just the way it is,
Yeah.
We don't really see any difference. I think it was last Christmas, and I've mentioned this before, I bought my wee girl picked a doll, and it was a black doll, and she unwrapped it at Christmas, and my granny's like, why'd you buy her a black doll? Like, it's just a doll, Granny. It's just a doll.
Yeah, you're like, no.
Oh, she's 84. She's grand. She's okay.
Yeah. Oh. Gosh. Oh man. Yeah, it's a different world. It's a different world that the kids are growing up in, and
your older family in like your mother, your granny and grandas and things like that. If they're still around, are they all still evangelical, or have they accepted? They've obviously they haven't ostracized you.
It's been interesting.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah,
yeah, it's been interesting. No, I mean, my mother still loves me completely. She actually, she ordered my slavery book, and of course, she disagrees with me and she prays for me all the time, and which is really, really awesome. It's really sweet.
Yeah.
But she read the book, and she was texting me as she was reading it earlier this week, and she said, sorry, I hope it's okay that I'm saying this, but on page 76, I think you meant to write silver, and there's a typo. It says sliver. And then like 3 hours later, she said, it's sorry, on page 59, you wrote it, but I think you meant to write is, which, she's reading it that closely.
Yeah.
And it was really neat. She texted me afterwards, sort of like her thoughts on it. But yeah, I mean, I know that she would love for me to come back to the faith. And it's funny because this guy that I was messaging, tweeting with last night, or tweeting with? Yeah, tweeting with.
Uh-huh.
He when he was saying that I really wasn't a Christian, that's the only real answer. And then I wrote out at length what I understood the gospel to be and why I was a Christian. And his response was, yeah, I guess you were, which is really novel in that circumstance.
Finding someone that will change their point of view and accept your point of view, actually open to changing their mind, is hard to find on Twitter. That's for sure.
I mean, I realized that, ultimately he still went back to sort of a safe place because you can't most interpretations of 1 John 2, won't allow you to say that guy really was saved and now he's really not. It has to be either, he really wasn't saved, or the position that he, I think, has gone into, and that is, I think he probably thinks I'm just backslidden. And then I'll come back to the faith at some point. But he said, I think Josh will be. He was talking to somebody else about me, and he said, I think Josh will be surprised when he dies and stands before the Lord, and he's, he gets to get into heaven because he was saved. He was truly saved. And I responded and said, I really hope that you're right, as odd as that sounds. Because there is that part of me that, obviously not that God is depicted in the Old Testament, but if there is a God, and he loves me and wants to allow me to live in a state of joy for all eternity with him, if those things are actually real, I'd love to have that. It's just being convinced that that's actually going to be the case is.
That's what it boils down to. And that's a very good description. I recently had my auntie passed away there a week and a half ago, and we had the whole funeral and all that. And my mum, or just my dad's side of the family, they would still be quite, when it comes to the big things, they would still be religious. And a couple of months ago, my cousin, who would be my auntie's daughter, had a car accident, and someone found her little guardian angel medallion at the side of the road and came and gave it to her, afterwards. And she was like, oh, this is God looking after me and everything. But I would make the same sort of point as you are. It's not that we're totally against it. I ain't just convinced yet. So
yeah,
I've had these conversations quite recently, and they all know, my entire extended family all know I'm quite vocal about it. My license plate in the car is even 666. I'm very vocal about it. People know, and they accept me for it. Not so much now, but it's been a long time since I read the Bible. But not long after I left it, when I was in the anti-theism stage, I remember being in the house one time in my mum's, and a friend saying something to me about the Bible, and my mum just laughed and got up and went to walk away. And he's like, where are you going? She's like, he knows the Bible better than you. Good luck. Just walked out. And like, my ma is, I would refer to her as a spiritual Christian. She's still, Jesus is that, and the other. But, if God's everywhere, he's not in the building. You do your own thing. She has her own thing. And she lets me be me, and I do this. And the only video on my channel she has watched is the very first interview with Messenger Reveals, and she never watched again. So I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. John knows I love him. But Josh, would it be possible, would you be open to open the floor up if a few people want to come in? Would that be all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll jump back in again in 10 minutes. Everybody needs to get a wee bathroom break, and as usual, my dog's giving me the evil eye to get let out. So if we'll see you all back in about 10 minutes. I'll pop the link. Dave's there. Dave, do your mod thing. Pop the link for the live stream, please, or the StreamYards in the chat if you could. And I'll end it here in 2 minutes. And we'll all see you back in about 5-10 minutes or so. We'll have a wee gathering with Josh and let him spread his knowledge amongst a wider audience. Josh, really do appreciate you coming on, man.
No, it was my pleasure. Appreciate you having me on.
I got a wee bit more relaxed afterwards. I'm now feeling a bit better. But we still, the utmost respect for you. You've spent 14 years in studies. You've done these things. People should just realise, as you said, man, they just want to engage for the sake of engaging. They don't want to change their point of view. But we do it for the people watching. We have these conversations so the people watching can at least go home and go, is that or is it not? Get the think going in your head. So we'll see you all back in about 5-10 minutes. And appreciate you all. See you all in a wee minute. Bye bye.